My name is Cet Parks. I'm the executive director of the Washington-Baltimore Newspaper Guild, TNG Local 32035.
And some of the issues that came up today, one of them was disparity, pay disparity. What has the union been doing to fight for equality and of all workers?
Well, at our local, the Washington Post was the unit that was at the forefront of this issue. So as I presented earlier, that basically it came from the members at the Post, primarily women in the newsroom that wanted to do a pay equity study. So we had the data that we received from the Washington Post from 2014, 2015 bargaining. We met, we formed the committee. We sent all the information out to our analysts who crunched the numbers in a format that we can find out what's going on with pay and equity at the Washington Post. We presented it to the members so they could see it. We presented it to management, and we saw quite a bit of glaring disparities between women and minorities, people of color, where it came to pay, on all classifications across the board, pretty much.
And was there a problem getting the information from management about the pay and to see if there's actual disparities?
Well, we didn't per se have a problem getting the information because we got it in reference to our bargaining. But as I alluded to before, the data was very great, but there was one issue. When we presented it to the Post, they tried to downplay what we presented to them because they said we didn't have actual experience data for people. And the problem was we have to go back and try to reconstruct that. We have data that shows when somebody's employed at the Washington Post, but we don't have the data that shows what they did before that, if they were coming from the New York Times, if they were coming from the LA Times, what type of experience they have. So they used that to kind of say that our study wasn't accurate and didn't hold the whole truth.
And is there an issue of discrimination and racism in the newspaper industry, in the media industry?
Well, I believe there's a problem with pay equity, definitely. I mean, historically, minorities have been underpaid and underrepresented in newsrooms across the country. I think everybody knows that. A lot of papers have made strides to change, but still I believe minorities are behind in pay. The same for women. Our study showed, I believe, that women made 86 cents on the dollar, if I'm correct, quoting off the top of my head, which is terrible for the same amount of work, and that's a problem that needs to be corrected and addressed.
And there's been massive downsizing of newspaper workers in the United States. It sounds like there's some new organizing going on here. Digital workers and others are starting to get organized with the CWA. Are you optimistic? You think there's a changing tide on the media right now?
I do. I mean, our local, Washington and Baltimore, we've been very lucky and effective. We just brought in foreign policy. We brought in real news, raw story. So we're making strides with help from TNG organizers, bringing in a lot of these digital publications to be represented. And they're seeking us out, and they're voting yes. And we're making strides in trying to get contracts at these places, absolutely.
They believe in having union representation.
The digital media is starting to come down and come towards the union, absolutely.
Now, one of the problems is corporate control of the media, the lack of a labor voice in an organized way. What do you think about the idea of a labor channel, national labor channel with information, history?
I think that's a great idea. And to be honest with you, our local is a little different. We have a lot of nonprofits in our local, and we actually represent the staff of the AFL-CIO. I always thought there should be an AFL-CIO channel on cable news that had all the affiliates that dealt with different content that ran just like any other news channel. I know it's expensive, and I know it costs a lot, but I really think that's a direction we need to be looking into for the future.
And this recent loss of labor in Nissan and was it Mississippi? It sounds like these companies are trying to keep unions out, creating fear and terror among working people. What should labor do to counter that? I mean, it's not just a problem in Mississippi; it's happening all over.
No, it's a problem everywhere. I mean, I started out as an organizer. I think you just have to keep organizing, keep getting the message out, keep pushing. I'm sure. Come back to the Nissan plant, try to run it over again. I mean, we can't give up. We have to keep moving forward the movement. Absolutely.
And the Trump administration now is trying to roll back discrimination. They're talking about attacking, I would say, diversity in colleges, suing colleges around. I mean, what do you think about what they're doing and what labor's response should be?
I mean, obviously, it's definitely a step backwards. I mean, I think the labor movement in general is a bigger picture. I mean, in my opinion, labor has always been tied to civil rights or other movements, and I think we have to keep in that response to bond with other organizations that have similar values and push back on these issues coming out of the current administration. Absolutely.